Greetings, friends! Welcome to 2023. Welcome to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Crivey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and guy who skipped my wedding.
It's not true, but Alex Dandino.
He said it made him feel like a hypocrite. That's a fact.
Oh, wait, I did, didn't I? You got married in Indiana, so that makes sense.
Actually, we didn't invite his ass to spot. No, we did. He stood me up. Across state lines, he stood me up. Neither here nor there. I mean, I was at his wedding. Drunk as shit, I almost fell down during your ceremony.
I think we all did, actually.
Yeah, your cousin got us hammered, and so Amy kept watching me during your ceremony. I was one of the groomsmen, and she's like, dear God, he's going to fall and ruin your guys' wedding. So thank God I didn't. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for a little business before we start. Guys, it's official. We're on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The best way to support the show, the best way to get more of the show, the best way to make the show exactly what you want. So, guys, you can get in for as little as $1 a month, see what we're working on. We got miniseries, we got commentaries, we got a Patreon-exclusive library filled with wonderful episodes over there. You can even, if you do well enough, you can pick the episodes you want us to talk about yourselves. So, guys, we do a lot over there to try to make it worth your time and while. So, if you would be so kind, go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod and support us over there. Start your 2023 off right with a good deed, helping us out. The email, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Hit us up whenever. You can find us on all the social media. Whatever you're on, we're on too. We love to hear from you guys. The YouTube is Film Alchemist if you want to see our faces. We've talked about adding some more YouTube stuff, right? I think we've been talking about this for years, but we're trying to fit it into our busy schedules. And something easy you can do, make sure you leave those 5-star ratings and reviews wherever and anywhere you find podcasts. All right. So we're starting 2023 off. Every year in January, we do the pod makes New Year's resolutions, right?
Indeed. Yep.
But we're actually starting with one that's not from us, right? So the resolution, I guess, the way it fits in, it's actually pretty perfect. Make more time for your family, right? Be nicer to your family. Heal family relationships, right? So one of our friends over on Patreon, Jason, right? Our friend Jason over there.
Friend Jason on Patreon.
Friend Jason, recently, his mother passed away, right? And it was very hard on him. I'm sure all of us can relate to how hard it is to lose a family member, especially towards the end of the year.
We love you, sir.
Yeah, we love you, Jason, right? Jason's mom, is a hospice nurse, right? So she took a lot of care of people, right? So it's sad to lose good people, man. So Jason hit us up, man, and he was telling me this really nice story about his mom in movies, right? That his mom and dad went on a date and saw this movie, Terms of Endearment. And it made them want to start their family, right? And so that's when they had Jason, right? It was because of this movie in theory.
Wow.
So I thought that was a sweet story, man. So he asked if, in honor of his mom, we could talk about Terms of Endearment. And absolutely. I said, that is the easiest yes we will ever give, right?
Yeah,
we would love to do that for you. And boy, were we lucky. So yeah, Jason, we love you, man. Hugs, internet hugs for your ears and your head. Terms of Endearment kicks ass. So I had only seen this movie once, right? I watched this on a plane to Hawaii, right, when I was going on my honeymoon. I was like, I'll catch up on some classics. I watched Charade and this, and I can't remember what else I watched, right? Maybe Bicycle Thief or some shit. Right. So everyone else is watching, the second 300 movie, which was out at the time, right? I'm watching, and I was like, oh, is that Ava Green Tits? I'm like, no, I got to pay attention to this family drama. So it didn't
quite a Doble feature, The Raid in Terms of Endearment.
Well, no, it was fucking 300 too, where Ava Green's getting her titty smacked around the sea. And so this 12-year-old's watching that and smiling his ass off. And I'm saying, I don't give a fuck about family dramas. I was a young man, just married, right? Figured it might not last, right? Maybe we'll get an old. And so I didn't quite sit on me, this movie, right? So I remembered it lukewarm at best, right? I watched it today, man, and it's a devastatingly effective movie. It's joy, it's sadness, it really captures in not a cynical way the messiness of just being a human and being part of life and a family and a relationship. It's just this kaleidoscope of, checking in every so often, right? Big time jumps, this and that. But it's messy, it's chaotic, but not in a cynical, doesn't family suck kind of way, right? It just made me think, it's like, yeah, every relationship you have, friend, lover, coworker, grandma, whatever, human relationships are fucking messy, dude. And I was blown away today. I loved this movie so much. So, Alex, opening thoughts on Terms of Endearment.
I think I had also only seen this movie once. I feel like I don't remember a lot of the middle of this movie. I think this is a really fascinating example because I fucking love James L. Brooks. Like there's very few writer directors in this business that I think capture, like you were saying, like the truest human experience the way James L. Brooks does. And I think a lot of the times his movies get sort of categorized under these weird like a very weird rom-com genre, but I think it's because a lot of the time people don't understand how to actually people don't understand how to market his movies. People don't understand how to tell people, go see this movie, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Is it? It's actually pretty depressing in a lot of ways.
It's not always as easy to be like, hey, do you just want to go watch your own life in the theater? It's like, no, dude, I want to go see the Blue People.
Right. Like, nobody invented dramedy for the 80s and 90s the way James L. Brooks did. Like, he really, between this, broadcast news, and As Good as It Gets, he literally wrote the book on how to make movies about how people actually function and how they function in a movie, though. We've talked about this. This is... The reason I like James L. Brooks so much because this is a lot about my own writing. This is how I write, the way people actually function, and I'm not good at writing people entertainingly function.
It goes Alex Dandino 1, James L. Brooks 2.
No, it goes. I wish I was James L. Brooks. Finding
Same,
he's always found that path in writing stuff like this. Terms of Endearment is very real to me. I feel like we're in the. I don't feel like I'm watching a movie. I feel like a lot of the time I'm watching something very realistic happen because human beings are funny and sad. It's not just drama. It's not just comedy. There are just things that happen in our life that are the way people exist. And a lot of that comes to casting too. Shirley MacLaine is utterly incredible, but we already know that,
I mean, she's the fucking gargantuan of the film.
She's one of the and she is one of the all-time greatest comedy drama actresses ever. Her comedic timing is so perfect for drama, and her drama is so perfect for comedy. There is very few. Again, The Apartment's one of the seminal films of all time, and that's because of Shirley MacLaine.
Right.
Terms of Endearment, though, is this seminal film of Shirley MacLaine's career, not just because she won an Oscar for it, but because it is such a real story. A mother, and I live with my wife's relationship with her mother is very important. And watching this, I was like, oh shit! This felt very real to me because I lived through that. I live with my mother's relationship with her mother was very important. But my wife's relationship with her mother is so intense, just like this. Not, it's not like they don't badger each other.
You're the flap, yeah. You're the
No,
flap.
I am not. That guy is so...
Well, no, but this movie, right?
That guy is so cute.
This fucking gigantic slice of life film. This movie won 5 Academy Awards, kind of crushed, right? Brooks won for... directing and adapted screenplay.
Director, adapted screenplay, and Best Picture for
one Best Picture. And then Shirley MacLaine, and oddly, I think Nicholson winning for a supporting actor.
Right?
This is not even top-tier Nicholson. He's great in the film.
Yeah.
But he's not... That one I always thought was odd, right? Because Jack could have won for 15 other movies.
Watching it again today, I thought the exact same thing. Because it's weird you say that because I was like, why did he win? I don't know.
That restaurant, the lunch with the driving on the beach scene is great.
Yeah, sure.
That's great work. But yeah, but anyways, this movie really hit in a big way. And what, the opening of the movie really struck me, right? It's that fucking opening scene is so funny because that's what I used to do, right? When she keeps going in to check on the baby.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, it's fine. It's fucking fine. Let the kid sleep. But she shakes the bed. And when the girl starts crying, she goes, oh, good, and leaves. I wasn't like that, but I used to get up and lick my finger.
Yeah.
And put it under Hunter's nose to make sure he's breathing. And he's like, he's fucking, because she told me about SIDS.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that was. And I was like, what is that? She's like, sudden infant death.
dude,
Like, wait, they
I'll
can
be
just
honest with
instantly
you.
die.
I still do that. I still like when I hear when it's too quiet upstairs.
Oh no, dude! Now I just lock the door, dude. I put barricades so they can't get out before a certain
I know,
time.
and like nobody, you can't really tell because like it's always dark when we do this, but like nobody knows it's like it's 5:30 in the morning where I am because last night we tried to do this and like my kid is just going through some weird phase where he needs us all the time or he just wants to be around. Like, and again, like I'm
But see,
not
not
against
even that though. The next scene where she goes into the little girl's room and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you going through anything? You want to sleep with me?" And she's like, "I feel tense." And the girl's like, "I'm fine. No, I don't want to sleep with you." And the mom's like despondent. She goes, "Hey, do you want to sleep in my bed again?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." And I was like, so this movie also,
this is like that's that mother-daughter
thing. It's
thing.
going both ways, right? It's not like an aloof parent, right? And
No.
I
This
just
is
thought
very
that
much
was
like that.
I just thought it was great, right? And then by the time we meet Deborah Winger, right? She's going to be our kind of main heroine, right? Mm-hmm. Emma. Deborah Winger is such a fucking just breath of fresh air in this movie. Yeah. She's so unbelievably lovable. And the thing that's key to her though, right, is even though Flap's a cunt, her mom's a cunt, right? Her kids are cunts. She's somewhat unflappable, right? Since he's looking for other poon. But yeah, so she's but no, she maintains this. She accepts life for what it is. She accepts her mom's eccentricities. She accepts her husband's shortcomings. She accepts that her kids, like that last scene, dude, when she's in the hospital bed, I was a fucking weeping wreck. Because Hunter was having his birthday party, and I was like, fuck, dude, I got to go upstairs and take a shower so people don't know I'm crying my eyes out.
Right.
But when she just tells her oldest son, she's like, I know you love me. You don't have to tell me, right? It's okay that you spent the last years pretending you hate me. I always knew. And she said this line. This is going to make me cry. She said this line, though, where she said, don't hurt yourself for that later. Don't ever do that to yourself. Your mom always knew you loved you.
Yeah.
And she's so important in that respect. Because I think a lot of us, right, going through the life that she's going through, man, we get beat down. You get fucking beat down and you forget to be thankful for things. You know, whether it is even a kid who fucking, is trying to act tough to you. He's healthy. He's good, right? He'll be an adult, right? Yeah. And so I think her dealing, like the one scene when Shirley MacLaine is like, I don't want to fight. She's like, who's fighting? She's like, I always think we're fighting. She's like, dude, that's on you, right? Like I've never fought with you. Right? I've always just been on the other end. And so that thing though of accepting reality, right, and facing it with a smile, right? It's not devil may care, right? Because that implies that it doesn't matter. It's a devil will care and won't be stopped, right? Yeah. And it's such a, and she's great in this fucking movie, like amazing in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who, Deborah Winger or Shirley MacLaine? I mean, they both are. Like
both,
they both
but Deborah Winger, like that one really caught me off guard. I knew Shirley MacLaine was amazing in this movie. I had forgotten how much Deborah Winger.
I think we forget a lot about Deborah Winger because she got annexed from Hollywood, and it sucks because the reason she did was because she did exactly what most really strong female actresses have to do, which is like stick up for herself. Because she didn't want to do a lot of the roles. She didn't want to do a lot of the roles. Like I feel like the last time I saw her in a movie was like Rachel Getting Married. Like I do not remember her past like she hasn't done a lot of work just because like, she got a reputation for being very difficult, and she is one of those actresses who always just put on such a real performance. Like no matter what the role was, like the movie, it's weird because Terms of Endearment obviously is like the movie that everyone knows her from. The movie that I remember her from best is this rom-com called Forget Paris with Billy Crystal.
Yep. Urban Cowboy. An Officer and a Gentleman. Yeah, she's in a lot of good ones.
She's in these bangers. That is the one movie I remember her from the best because she is standout, not Billy, because Billy Crystal's Billy Crystal, but she is so shockingly real in that movie. And so every time she's on screen, and then, God, dude, everything about the way she operates. Like when she has to call.
I just read a hilarious thing. I'm so sorry. So I was looking her up because you're like, I care the last time I saw her. So her first thing on her trivia section, this is such a funny fucking paragraph. Her notorious off-camera clashes with equally mercurial Shirley MacLaine brought out the best of both actresses and complexity in their on-camera contentious relationship, right? And it said when McClane nabbed the best actress Oscar instead of Winger, they were both nominated for Best Actress.
Yep, they both were.
McClane famously shouted, "I deserve this." And then in the press, even though they hated each other, she would always refer to Deborah Winger as Dear Deborah. And apparently, she turned down Karen Allen's role in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can actually. She's, you know why? Because I would imagine Shirley MacLaine would have read the script and been like, why aren't I Indiana Jones?
She turned down Alex Forrest in Fatal Attraction, which Glenn Close got.
Yeah,
she would have sucked in that movie. Not that she's not a great actress. Glenn Close.
She would not. That's not
perfect.
That's not the right vibe for her.
Yeah, Broadcast News. Okay, she was in that.
She was in Broadcast News.
Oh, dude, I think that's great. That is fucking hilarious. I deserve.
I mean, again, she's just Shirley MacLaine. Like, it's unapologetically Shirley MacLaine. Like, but I think Deborah Winger is one of those actresses. The reason that I always
Sunset Boulevard thing going on, dude.
What?
I'm ready for my close up, dear Deborah.
It's such a fascinating thing because when you read about this behind the scenes shit and you watch like the movie, because I also read that Jack Nicholson improvised a lot of shit he did with Shirley MacLaine, and it like I'll say this: if Terms of Endearment had been made now and he had done the improv that he had done on set, he probably would have been fired like immediately. Like he apparently improv like putting his hand down her legs, and like that was something she was not. She's like, oh well, it helped my performance. I'm like, 9 times out of 10 now. If he had done that, he would have been like, oh, that dude sexually harassed me on camera and he got fired.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is fine. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, for a bygone era. I'm saying like that is a very Jack Nicholson
Some shit
thing
happened
to be able
that would not fly. But one of the things that starts in the film, right? Their relationship is so hilarious, right? Yeah. They do seemingly, she despises her daughter. Or as my wife said, right? She's like, she just wants to do things to hold her daughter.
Yeah.
And I was like, but all she's doing is pushing her daughter away, right?
She wants her daughter to have the best stuff, and the only way she knows how to do that is to hold on.
Daughter's wedding. Skips her wedding. I would never have well, I would. I'm soft. I can't hold grudges for long against family. Against normal people, I can hold a grudge forever.
Yeah.
Afterlife.
I'm amazing at holding grudges against normal people.
Oh no, if you fuck me once, like even half a fuck, like I will pray for your ruination.
Yeah, you're like that guy in Scarface. Like, don't you fuck me.
Right, but if my mom did, like, had my mom skip my wedding, like the next week, I'd probably be like, that was fucked up, but you're back. You're back.
Fucked up, but you're back.
I couldn't possibly stay mad at my mom for long.
Yeah.
But it's such a strong thing to drop at the start of the film. And the next morning, her and Flapper, banging, right? They're doing the old stretching.
Well,
and the mom calls and she still fucking stops to talk to her. And it's like, that's just what it was. The mom lost the husband. And so she just knows her mom's fucking neurotic.
Right. Well, it's more than that. Like, that is the depth of their relationship, is like, it's the two of them. Like, the two of them
against the world, yeah.
It's them against the world. And I think that, Shirley MacLaine's character, like, Emma's the daughter. Aurora just wants her daughter to have everything. It's like what any parent wants for their kid. Like, you just want your kid to be happy. And, like, when you see your kid making a bad decision, you want to prevent it in a way that's, like, there's, like, preventing it when they're children, which is like, oh, like, you're going to burn yourself on that. I'm going to, like, pull your hand away, that kind of thing. And then when they're adults, and when you're an adult, like, this has happened with my brother, with my parents. This is one of those things where it's like, he's just going to be him. Like, they're just going to be them, and they have to make their own decisions. They have to fuck up on their own. I think what's fascinating, what makes Terms of Endearment so unique is that Aurora spends so much time trying to prevent these fuck ups, even though they're going to occur anyways. But all she does is, like, there's like this parenting thing she does where she's like, well, it's going to happen. And she lets it happen. Like, because she lets it happen, but she still complains about it. I don't know how to describe it. It's such a weird thing. She is
constantly doom and glooming, right? She's like Nostradamus, but only says, like, your life's going to be bad. But I don't even know if she believes it. I think in a way she's just saying she hopes that shit happens so her daughter will come crawling back to her.
I think she just likes...
Like that one scene, right? When they come back, she is stoked. That's the happiest
think
we
she
ever
just
see her. It
loves
could just
her
be because
daughter.
she's getting fucking rode. And so she's like, this is great. She even says, right, I forgot how fucking fan-fucking-tastic sex is.
Right. She's getting
so now she's
because she's getting breed loved.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You get it you get joints lubricated. You know what I mean? So like you're not walking around like the Tin Man anymore.
I do think it's just...
Now she's got a heart from the Wizard of Oz, you know, the Spaceman of Oz, you know what I mean?
Sure. But like...
But also her daughter's back and flat
But that's
fucked
the
up,
other
so
thing
she's
too.
stoked.
Like, I don't think it's... Look,
I don't think she's even prognosticating. Like I have because she says that she's like you're not special enough to overcome a bad marriage. That's brutal. That's a brutal thing to say.
I don't think it's like a Tin Man heart thing, you know? Like, to me...
No, the sex was. The sex is Oz. Her real life is with her daughter. Maybe. I don't know.
But I think that, like, that this is the kind of thing where, like... And this is the kind of thing that, because I'm a dude and I don't have a relationship with... I'm not in a mother-daughter relationship. I can't speak and tell it.
You and Pat have that kind of thing.
Not this kind of thing.
You would lay on the bed and talk about your dalliances, I bet.
I mean, I'm not nearly cool enough to have a dalliance, but, you know...
Alex, you'll never believe what your mom did last night. God, no, Dad.
No, but like the conversations I've had with, I mean, look, I'm not like the conversations I've had with my dad are particular, but like mother-daughter relationships are different than father-son relationships. Like
we have to grow up and beat our dads in a fight. That's how the rule goes.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the thing is like the son becomes the father. Like that's always a big thing, you know? That's a time-honored story.
You got to beat up your dad and spread nut around. That's when you know you're a man.
Gross. But like that's a concept.
Well, no, that's what we do genetically. I didn't decide that.
But that's a concept. But like
Darwin decided that, Dandino. Darwin.
Mother-daughter relationships are very different because like from where I sit, and again, I speak solely as someone who's married to people and has seen my mother and that kind of thing. Women always generally try not to be like their mother, and they end up being like their mother a lot of the time. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. People are, look, I love my mom. Like, it is what it is. Like, you know, I'm absolutely mama's boy. Like, I like my mommy, and that's like part of the deal. I don't mind.
But I think she treats Emma right. But she treats Emma like she's that little kid in the Renoir painting.
Always.
Right?
Always.
She does not treat Emma as if she is a grown adult.
You're constantly running from your mother in a way that makes her love you more somehow. Like, it's such a fascinating thing that happens.
I think she's her entire world, right?
Totally.
She'll love her no matter what, but she also only throws shade at her.
Absolutely. But
right?
that's like, it's almost like that like tough love thing.
Don't do this. I don't want you to hurt. She's like, I can't wait for you to hurt, so you'll come back here. But it's not meant to be like it's such a strain. It's like negging.
It's the, yeah, no, what it is it's this weird, like, this is okay. So they're in Houston, so it's sort of like the Southern thing too, where like it's this manipulative thing that parents can do. Where
I think that's everywhere,
but it's different here. It's different in this, but either way, like the negging thing's a good way to put it. Like it is this manipulative tactic that mothers can do to their daughters. That like I don't know what that is. Like dads can't pull that off. Like I've never been able. Like every time my dad has tried to, he's never really tried to do anything. But anytime you see that, anytime
you beat him up. When you turn into a man, did you beat him up?
Shut up. Anytime you see a man try to do that to their son, like dad's like, dude, fuck you. I don't give a shit. Like that's how that usually goes. Daughters for some reason,
dad up, it can never happen again.
Daughters for some reason can be negged by their mothers in a way that's like absolutely incredible. Like the gaslighting that happens is unbelievable. And that's what makes Terms of Endearment so incredible. Is it's so real. Like it feels so real the way that that relationship works.
The hardest part to accept is that Emma is still so enamored with her.
The hardest part to accept is that she's enamored with anybody other than her children. Like I do not understand. Like when she has. Okay,
so you're a married guy, right? You've been married for 10 years.
10 years.
10 years, right? There is such a thing, right? And I think about this a lot with us, right? With me and my wife, because we started dating in high school.
Right, yeah.
Right? And so I do think there is this thing. She has that thing where she still remembers the man she fell in love with and is not fully reconciling that with the man that he is now.
Right.
And even when we start to see, right, there's that fucking terrible scene when the baby has croup, or croup, whatever the fuck it's called.
It's croup.
And she's trying to fucking, steam him out. And he's like, he doesn't even want to get out of bed. He doesn't want to do the steaming. He's tired. He's been running around fucking at the library. And she knows. She specifically knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But in her mind, she just lets it go another day. Well, we got the kids, right? Like, this will be a huge, like, just the idea of, like, as bad as it gets, right? I got to break this up, right? We got to do all this lawyering. We have no money. The kids are going to be mad at me because I ruined the relationship, even though it's dad's fault.
Right.
So you see her just keep pushing it down the road until she sees it with her own eyes. Then it's, not the monster under your bed. It's like the monster, like, sitting on your chest, like a sleep paralysis demon. Then she has to make a move. But even then when she busts his ass, right? And he fucking chased her down with the baby on his chest, by the way.
Yeah.
And says, you're going to ruin us with your dramatics, right? Like a real fucking piece of shit. She still comes back to him to move to Arkansas. The kids still jump out of the car and hug him. They get to Arkansas. He still brought the fucking side piece with him.
And they moved to Nebraska.
Or Nebraska. Right, correction. Yeah. Nebraska. He still brought the fucking side piece. So she sees her and confronts her. Still doesn't fucking make the move. And again, I think that's what it's not melodramatic or hard to understand. It's messy. It's fucking complicated, but it's real, man.
Yeah.
That just...
It's a complicated thing to be in love with someone who, you have to rectify that version. Like, to me, this is the thing.
He might be in love with her, but he also needs his ego stroked, right? So he's got to go out and fucking meet floozies.
To your point, though, I feel like, and this is the part where the mother-daughter relationship is so important, because it wasn't that Flap's like some English professor. Like, that, she wasn't down about his career, his problems, like, she just knew. Like, Aurora knew what Emma was getting into because she knew the kind of guy that Flap was somehow. And this is just like a preternatural thing that parents can do. Is just like, you can tell. So she says her
also,
piece.
she's been there, right?
Right, exactly.
It's something I didn't understand until I became a parent. Where it's like, I used to lie to my parents like they're stupid. They don't know shit.
Oh, dude.
And now when you're a parent, you're like, oh, dude, I've done that. I've been there. I know what you're going to say now. Like, you can watch them formulating lies.
Yep, absolutely.
And like, I'm going to skirt this and their logic. And you're like, dude, I've been there. And so Aurora probably had those fucking thirsty ego searchers.
I love that scene where, like, they have this where she's like, I'm on to you. Like, that bit, what I love about that scene is that feels like Aurora speaking through Emma. Like, that's that inherited trait of, like, I know what's going on. Like, that's an Aurora thing to have just, like, confronted head on and be like, the fuck's your problem? I know what's going on.
Right. But no, I mean, you just see it, right?
That's
Flap's
the realness.
doing and Flap is that scene when she finds the lumps.
Yep.
Right?
Oof.
And Flap is trying to change the subject to ask her about the lumps. And she's mad at him about having just saw the side piece who followed them on their trip, right? That is one of those brilliant writing decisions, right? Because maybe he is honestly concerned the mother of his children is going to die.
Yeah.
Right? Because he doesn't want to raise the kids. Maybe he's concerned because his wife is going to die, the first love of his life, right? Maybe. Maybe he is just trying to change the subject. And if that is not a mirror onto the normal conversations we have all the time, passive aggression, right? Say the thing without saying it. I want you to know what to say without me having to fucking tell. And it's just fucking brilliance, right? And Jeff Daniels and Deborah Winger just killing it. And so I think that thing, right? Like, there's even this weird choice in the middle of the film where she, in this horrifying scene that I remember from my childhood, right? Where you're trying to buy shit and you're like, oh, I don't have enough, and you start putting shit back, right? You miscalculated with taxes or whatever.
Right.
And, they're trying to shame her, right? That lady's, like, shaming her in the store. Lithgow hooks her up, right? Her son's like, get over the car. She's fucking screaming at him in the parking lot. I just want to talk to another hero. It's fucking, like, that stress of a day, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so it's just, like, it's so fucking relatable. We're just like, I want to enjoy this nice moment and this nice thing that happened to me for a second, but everything's fucking with you, right? Well, then her and John Lithgow have a fucking affair. So because of Flap's infidelities, now she's trying to fucking get it back, maybe. Or she just needs someone to fucking love her for a moment.
Do you think that... This is interesting, too, because Nicholson and Lithgow both got nominated for Best Supporting. I think that Lithgow has a little
Strange.
bit stronger performance, to be honest with you.
I don't know about that. I honestly, like, I'd have
Like-
to see what else was out that year. I'm honestly shocked either of them were nominated.
I
Not
agree,
that they
'cause
didn't do well, but this isn't
No,
like
no.
Hannibal Lecter was in Silence of the Lambs for like 13
No, so
minutes.
that year, here's the thing. I know personally who I think should have won that year. So who's nominated in the category that year was Jack Nicholson, obviously, Lithgow, Charles Durning for To Be or Not to Be, which is a Mel Brooks comedy, Rip Torn for Cross Creek, and then the one that I think he should have won was Sam Shepard for The Right Stuff, because he was Chuck Yeager.
Dude, that's a good one.
Like,
That's a
to
fucking
me,
good one.
that's the kind of crazy thing about this is like you have three power. I mean, look, the whole, Charles Durning, like the whole crowd is great, but like Sam Shepard as Chuck Yeager in The Right Stuff is like one of the great performances, and to be beat out by Jack Nicholson at all is kind of weird because I really just like I don't. It's
odd.
It's a fine performance.
Lithgow he's a man who has a wife, right? She's like, why don't you ask your wife to be on top? And he's like, I can't. It's not like, have you asked? Yeah, like 600 times. Right? Yeah. So like he's this relatable kind of like schlub. Nicholson is this dick slinging astronaut.
Right. Yeah, there's always this really, it's interesting because like this one and Broadcast News sort of have that same dynamic where like Albert Brooks is the Lithgow, and then you have William Hurt who's doing, I mean, he's not doing a Jack Nicholson, but it's the same vibe. But like,
yeah, astronaut and banker. Right?
Yeah. It's a really fascinating thing though. I don't understand.
Why add the affair for Emma's character in the middle?
I don't know. I thought
strangely,
it
doesn't
really do much.
It doesn't make
for me.
you like feel upset because her partner's
I guess
already
to
cheating.
me, when it became because like to me, what it was going to be is I thought when it started, maybe it was going to be some sort of emotional affair. Like it's somebody you can talk to because he's everything. He's everything that Flap necessarily is not. He's open. He's giving. He's willing to talk about a lot of things, including his sex life, like stuff that he doesn't really want to talk about. He's willing to talk about that with Emma. So the fact that it occurred, I was like, oh, and then like it's one of those things where I didn't know it was going to turn into that, but it wasn't. It was expected, but I was expecting a little bit more emotional openness rather than it just being like an affair,
right?
I guess.
Yeah, it felt weird because if there's a part of the movie that didn't do a lot, I feel like that's the one, right?
Because then it's
Emma
like
doesn't seem like it means a lot to her,
right?
Like she's doing it, but also when they have to leave, it doesn't feel like she's heartbroken to say goodbye to the banker. He doesn't come see her on her deathbed, so like it does feel like just this odd. But again, it kind of adds to this people bouncing around off each other vibe.
Well, it becomes this dalliance just to get back at Flap, which isn't really. It doesn't work. Like that's not the character. That's not what it's supposed to be. Like
I agree. But I think you don't look at it as to get back. I think it's one, she's just trying to recapture that. Because there's that great moment where the one scene where Flap comes back in the house to like bang her one more time.
Right.
And he's like, I'm late, but we got to go fast. And she's like, I can't believe you came back. That's what she wants. I think she just wants someone to be around her.
Sure, yeah.
To appreciate her, period, right? And so I don't think it's like I'll have my revenge, right?
No.
So yeah, it's an odd like kind of fucking divergence, right? And at the same time, we cut to Aurora who's having... Aurora has a weird fucking setup, and like her weird kink is to have men just follow her around
like
and worship her, but not go anywhere.
Yeah,
right. Like there's Danny DeVito and the other guy who like writes a poem for her, and she gives them both kisses at dinner, but then gets so upset because the doctor's like, "But you're old, admit you're old," that she just walks to Nicholson's house and wants to date him now.
Yeah.
And even at the end, at the funeral, Danny DeVito and the other guys are still there, even though she's clearly been pounding it with Nicholson. Like, that's like her weird thing, right? She just wants these idolaters. This is the part that feels like a movie rather than like the way we're describing like what James L. Brooks normally writes. Right. However, that's our life. Like, this could be very customary for a lot of people. I don't know. Like, if I get a divorce, that'll definitely be me.
I know a lot of people
just have idolaters around, right? Like I'm Mothra, this guy to get woken up by song. Like I would love to have that in my life.
Yeah, I know you pretty well. That shit's not going to happen. Also, like that's
first off, motherfucker, how dare you?
I'm not talking about.
You're
like,
the fucking flap to my Emma right now. That's
I'm
what's
not saying.
happening.
I'm not saying you're not some spring chicken. What I'm saying is like you would hate people singing to you in the morning. So.
Oh, well, good point. Maybe you do know me too well, right? Maybe you're the Aurora
well.
to my Emma.
I'm your Aurora.
I would actually back. Hey, can you pipe down? I needed a good solid 10. Can we? You know what I mean? Wait an hour, come back with coffee, sing my Mothra song, and I'll wake from bed. Mothra. I do think I'd like the drama, pretending I was Mothra every morning.
Yeah, I think that would work for you. That would be
that
like,
part's
that
fine,
would
but it has to be. That's the problem with me. It has to be on my schedule at all times. See,
that's the
then
thing
I
is
would
like
be Aurora.
if you got to wake up and do this like. If you got to wake up and do this sort of like King of the Monsters foreplay to all these idolaters, that would make sense.
That's the life. See, that's the way I should have phrased it.
That's how I'm your Aurora right here. I know what's going on.
All right. Well, if I get divorced, you could be my pimp and make that happen.
It's fine. No problem.
Well, right. So she has all these dudes pining after her.
Yes.
And then she goes for Nicholson. Why? Because I don't think she gives a fuck that he's an astronaut. I guess maybe she does.
Does she? I mean, okay, here's the thing. In Houston, that was a big deal.
Well, no, the one lady's like, she's like, do you want to see the astronaut? She's like, it's Houston. We have one on every corner. Like, I don't
right. But that's in the 80s. Like, to her,
yeah.
Like,
we
to
were
people
still
who grew
space
up,
people back then, yeah.
To people who grew up in the 50s, I mean, that's like fucking, that's, that's Harry Styles
there were only
on every
106 astronauts at the time, right? That's pretty cool. Out of billions of people.
That's Harry Styles on every corner.
Why? Call me Chris Pine then. No,
is he a cool guy? I don't know.
No, yeah, I mean he was until Don't Worry Darling press junket.
Where he spit.
Yeah, I still think he spit on Chris Pine. I have been known to believe in conspiracy theories. Come on. All right, neither here nor there.
Either
way. Why pick Jack?
I mean, I think because he's the danger. It's not because he's the dangerous one. There's a more measured thought process to this. It's because he's the one. Because he didn't come back for her. Like, he's not idolizing her.
Yeah.
It's the one you can't have.
It's like Emma, right? These other guys are what she wishes Emma was in her mind, right? This little puppy dog that would always be at her heel.
Yep.
Emma keeps going and living her life. She still loves her, but she moves on. So I think there's something to I think she needs someone to push her. She needs someone to challenge her. And I think, DeVito and them they aren't delivering that aspect, right?
Right.
So she needs someone to do it. I think that is another one in the movie where it's the weird keeping of the male harem is strange. Right? And that's the other thing, because she sees Nicholson's like trying to pound 20-year-olds, right? He's a drunken slob. Right. And so it is odd that they fall for each other, but their moments are wonderful. When she fucking throws him out of the car into the ocean, awesome. That's fucking hilarious.
All-timer moment in a movie.
All-timer moment. And then he fucking grabs her tit, and I don't know if she had a mousetrap in there or something.
But
because he was like screaming in agony, whatever was down in that bra. I think it was a defense mechanism, right? I don't think he was just like squeezing his knucks.
I think he was just upset that he didn't come up with a handful of boob. That's Jack Nicholson.
I mean, he did, but she was doing some kind of Krav Maga lock on him.
Well, that's Shirley MacLaine, man. She knows the deal.
That's the other thing, dude. The time span of this movie is because when she asked him on that date, she's like, "I asked you 3 years ago for lunch."
Yeah, and she remembers it like it's
yeah. Dude, it's so funny though. But yeah, I think their relationship, again, it's a little stilted, but it really has a great emotional impact at the end of the film. When he shows up at the hotel while the kids are trying to throw her into the pool,
yeah,
that is a fucking beautiful moment. Like, that choked me up a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, that was his fear, right? The entanglement aspect, right? I don't want to get entangled in people's shit. When Emma and her kids show up, he fucking, disappears like Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, "You do family." And he's gone. And then he breaks up with their ass at the gazebo right after. But the fact that he did all that and he came to the airport, right? And the great scene when she says she loves him and he's like, "Damn, I was 1 second away from a clean exit." Right? And then he says, "I love you too, kid." That's just fucking great. But I'll tell you the scene with Nicholson that really sealed it for me. Not only at the funeral when he's dancing with the little girl, right? And they're like, "Oh, he knows a pretty girl." He's the one who breaks through to the kid who's like got it tough, right? He kind of blows his dad off. He was mean to his mom, but Nicholson like gets through to him, right? And it gives you hope that that kid's gonna be all right. I thought that was fucking cool, man.
Which he wasn't, by the way.
Yeah, the relationship between those two is pretty fun in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Even though like first time they bang and like they're fighting over who's gonna turn the lights on or whatever, it was fun. It was fun, but I do think there's the huge scene we have not addressed. Are Emma's talking to people in her deathbed, right? Because she says it in New York when she's at the fancy lady lunch. She's like, you told him I'm dying, right? And the girl just goes, yeah, like, what do you want from me? And she's like, I want everyone to treat it like it ain't a fucking tragedy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it happens. I have cancer. I might make it. I might not. Stop treating it like it's a tragedy. And this is where, for my money, I think I would have gone Deborah Winger for the Oscar.
Yeah.
Because those scenes, that scene when she's talking to her fucking two sons, is as perfect a movie scene
I think that
as I've ever seen.
The fact that didn't seal it is really shocking to me. Because, like,
well, I think there might have been a thought, right, that Shirley MacLaine is on the back end of her career.
Like, I think Shirley MacLaine is an incredible actress, but at no point in the movie did she have this kind of scene.
She had some moments, but not like, I mean, this
not
is...
Not like this.
Everyone on Earth who watches that scene is going to fucking... If you have, like, a soul, period.
Yeah.
That scene's going to get in there and do some damage. But just her, like, trying to get the hugs. The kid is still standoffish, right? And she's doing the speech and all that. It's fucking brutal, dude. I was crying a lot because not only I was like, fuck, I can't imagine having to have that talk with my own mom. But then, you know, you start thinking, like, what fucking happens if I were to, like, lose a kid, right? Because when her and Shirley MacLaine are talking, it's just devastating. Even the scene when she's talking to Flap, right? And she's like, she's smiling, right? She's like, I'm just glad we can talk like this. He goes, damn, you're easy to please. And he goes, I can't believe I couldn't do it more. Right? He's like, my whole, who am I going to be if not the man who's failing Emma? Right? And she lets him off the hook. She's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just fucking be here, right?
Again,
and he's doing the, like, I never thought I'd be a man who leaves my kids. And, like, it's just real. They're getting the real shit out. This is not melodramatic, just weeping at a bedside and lionizing people. This is real shit that they're digging into.
Yeah. It's... Oh, my God, dude. I can't... That scene between her and her two kids is just, like...
I mean, it's fucking brutal, dude.
It's the best scene in the movie. Like, it's... And again, like, I think there's just something so you have those conversations with your parents, like where you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on their deathbed, but like those kinds of conversations are so relatable because everybody has to have that relationship where like that hero worship in a way that we do for our parents starts breaking down when we get a little bit older.
Right.
And I think what's beautiful is that moment solidifies so well, like Emma's understanding of that, but then also like the lionizing that she wants her children to do isn't that she was this great mom or anything like that. Mm-hmm. What she wants them to do is remember that they just loved each other. Like that is...
Well, that's the part where she rips you open, right? Where she's like,
totally.
You know, I want you to make friends. I want you to be nice to girls. That kind of stuff, right? Because we all have those hopes and dreams. You know, I always think of it like that. Like, I want to, like, make it to, like, my kid's wedding, you know, graduations. Like, I want to see them, like, okay. Like, by the time they start a family or, like, even if they don't start families, right? I want to see them as, like, adults in the world being okay, right? Like, I hope I live long enough to see that, right? And then you're like, from there, it's house money. Like, if I did that, I'm cool. So from that aspect, it's wonderful, right? But even then, when she tells the kid, she's like, I know you think you hate me now. Like, someday you're going to remember when I got that baseball glove when you knew we were broke, but I found a way to do it.
Yes.
Right? You're going to remember when I would read you those stories. You're going to remember, you know, that we're snuggled up on a couch. Like, you're going to remember that stuff. And this, like, hatred you have for me now will dissipate.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's all fucking, it's so relatable. right? Because you're like from both angles, and the two kids fighting, so one kid still worships the mom.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like what Aurora says at the start of the film, right? To the one guy, like, don't worship me unless I've earned it, right?
Right.
That's why she gets WAP for Nicholson. This is different since with kids, and there's no WAP involved, but
Yeah. Very much no.
right. And so, you know, but it's so when they give her the hugs, you know, and it's just watching those kids leave, and then there's this moment. This is the line where I would have said that's why I have to vote for her, right? Because it's so fucking perfect. The kids are out. This is the last time she'll see her two boys, right?
Yeah.
And if there's anything we know in this movie is that she's a very devoted mother, right? Like really into being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're leaving, the little boy is fucking crying, right? And he turns around to look at her. And she just goes, I think that went well, don't you? It's like, I was scared of that, but I think that went well.
Yeah.
As the kid's crying and her tears are starting to come, she's all fucking dolled up, but she was kind of wiping it off. And in that moment, I was like, that is the perfect summation of what a character is. Like in that moment, you're like, she did the homework. She nailed exactly who Emma was.
Yeah.
Right? Is that even in the saddest fucking moment you could ever imagine, she sends them out with a smile and a little laugh. And to me, I was like, that's the one, dude. Like, if that's not enough, like, I don't know.
I think that's the thing is like
that moment was like, it's this perfect extra moment. It's just at the end of that.
I mean, it just
again, it's
perfectly
so heavy, but you're like, that's not who Emma is.
I mean, to me, it just perfectly summarizes the movie at large, which is like, that is the moment. Like all these, like, and the movie follows like it is very vignette-y. Like there's a lot of vignettes to me,
right? Because every time we turn around, you're like, oh, it's like 8 years later, right? Oh, it's 3 years later.
So like for me, for a movie to function with vignettes, what I think is really interesting is that the power performances happen. It's, I don't know, like we've seen movies that don't work that well like this before, you know, like where they do these time jumps and time skips and they don't necessarily function. Like there's just something magic about Terms of Endearment that really,
well, because that element, right?
I don't know.
There Will Be Blood does this too, to a lesser effect, right?
Right.
But what it does, it reminds you of what she says to her son. Someday you'll think back and you won't remember being mad at me.
That's what it is. It's these snapshots of memories.
It's a memory, right? Here's a day I remember, right? Good and bad. When I'm on my deathbed, these are like the 15 things I'll think about.
Yeah.
And even that moment, right? Like that another just fucking like subtle and perfect moment I loved was just Shirley MacLaine wakes up from a nap, dude. She's been sleeping at the hospital every night. Her and Flapper in there, and they're just like, she's gone. There's no like grandiose mother-daughter soliloquy. There's no fucking, you know, her like nothing like that. It's just like she's just gone, dude. She went to bed. She didn't wake up, and I'm ashamed I fell asleep. I didn't get to see the end.
Yeah.
And again, it just feels so true. And she goes, "I'm an idiot. I thought there'd be more, right?" And then she said, "I thought it'd be a relief." Right? Like when she's gone, I thought it'd be a relief, which I think is relatable if you've ever seen someone you love going, like my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and that's terrifying. Yep. She is this very small lady. I'll never forget my dad telling me, because we're like, should we go see her? And he's like, she won't know who you are. And then she just goes, every day she was a small lady, and she would like cower when the orderly that she had every day would bring her in breakfast because she didn't know who this man was.
Right.
So every day she'd wake up in fear because some guy was breaking into her room. And it's like, you know, so you're like, maybe it'll be a relief, but it's not. There's no relief to it, right? And then she says there's nothing harder. And even this guy she despises, it seems like, right? Flap. She just fucking falls into him. Because, you know, even when it's rough, that's family still, right? Even if he's bought in, right? That's family.
Yeah.
And it's just brutal. Like, you just know that you lost this, like, wonderful person, right? And I think that's the thing that really, because as idiosyncratic as this movie is at times, it's so universally relatable.
Yeah, there's nothing about what happens that doesn't feel like we all could experience something like whatever moment you want to pick from this movie, you can experience some version of it. And I think that's what makes it so unique and so powerful, and that's why it won 5 Oscars and did what it did, and like that's why it lasts, and that's why it's such an impactful film for anybody, because there's a moment for everybody in this film.
I mean, even the funeral, right? You see the misery.
It's unbelievable.
You see Flap crying on her friend, even though they knew he cheated, but they had good stuff too. You
Sure.
see him break down, right? At the like, what am I gonna do now? Maybe like sad about he was the guy who always failed her, right? But the shot, you see them like kind of smiling as Nicholson's carrying around the daughter, and she's, obviously Aurora is like shattered. Like this is like her world has ended, and she has to rebuild it.
Right.
But the last shot of the movie is her telling her little granddaughter, like, hey, come over here. And the granddaughter's so young. She doesn't know. She's just in a dress, and she's smiling and happy. And I was like, that right there, right? The sad old lady reaching to this granddaughter for hope. And this little kid who doesn't know anything else but to be happy to be alive. And again, I was like, that's it, dude. It's messy, and it's fucking chaotic. It's hard to explain, right? Like, you can't explain why people are doing what they're doing. But you wouldn't change any of it.
Agreed.
Right? Because if you change it, what if, like, I think about this all the time. Like, people are always like, if you could go back to, like, college, would you? And you're like, well, yeah, that'd be fun. And you're like, wait, but, what if I didn't have one of my kids? Yeah, what if I didn't have one of my kids? What if, like, me and you would never become friends, right? You start thinking of this.
Well, this is like...
Nothing is ever going to be perfect, dude. It's always going to be... Yeah. But, like, I wouldn't give up the great things I have in my life to see if I got more or different great things. And I think we so often forget how much of that we all have, right?
Yeah. It's just the way life is. Like, there are things I wish I could have done.
Right.
But if I had done them, I wouldn't have had the life I have.
Mine is always like career stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, what if I went back and I like had all the career stuff I wanted, but like in my mind, I knew I didn't have Hunter.
Right.
Right? Or like a Logan didn't wake up in the morning and like crawl on me. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit is hard, dude. Like, what if you're like, maybe it'd be better over there, and then you're like, you go back in time, like, fuck. Like, I just
wouldn't be able to do it.
And it was like gone. Like that shit scares me.
Yeah.
But I think this movie, it does a great job of showing it's not like a rose-colored look at like a family life.
Right.
Or a love life. Or a, parent life. But it does, even with the bad stuff, man, it does make you like appreciative. Like I left that film crying my eyes out and appreciative.
Yes. I appreciate the life I have, even though, we tried to do this last night. We're doing it this morning because that's life, man. Like, right. I have a kid who just needs his parents right now, and that's just what it is. And
right.
You just remember everything that's good about it. That's all. Yeah. How bad is it? It's the best problem to ever have. Yeah. And
I do a podcast with the guy who's my flap. That's not easy.
Whoa. Aurora. We established this.
That's right. You're my Aurora.
Thank you very much. I will get you your Gorgira harem. No problem.
That's right. Oh! I like do the fucking like boom, 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 boom. Like I wake up like Kong. The Kong has awoken.
That's the kind of friendship we have. Yeah. I will make that happen.
Oh God, dude. I'll do anything for you. If that's just how I start my day, like if I gotta be like your butler, dude.
No.
If I got a buttle, but I wake up every day to a Mothra harem, even like a Gamera harem, like we'll figure it out. Well, you'll figure it out, and then I'll be your butler.
I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
That's it for Terms of Endearment. Jason and family, I hope you enjoyed this, man. Thank you.
Buddy.
Condolences, my man. We love you very much. Guys, we're starting 2023 off, not 2023 with the bang. So, guys, please, if you listen to this show and you enjoy us, we're going to ask you a favor. Send the show to one person you know who loves movies. Aunt, uncle, friend. Steal your friend's phones at a bar. Make them subscribe, right? Send them the show, right? If you're a patron, send them the Patreon thing that you think they might like, guys. We are going to word of mouth pyramid scheme this thing up.
Woo.
Right? So we'll become Bahamas rich, where we can get harems from any genre we want.
Yep.
Right? And then we can just focus on giving you guys the good stuff. That's what we're doing this year. So patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. If you want to join our pyramid scheme, if you want to come to one of these wake-up orgies,
indeed,
that's how we do it, guys. The rising tide raises all boats. Remember that. And nothing raises the tide like Godzilla. Remember that. The email is filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. the YouTube Film Alchemist. Ratings and reviews wherever you find us. Everywhere you find us would be great. We're on social media too. Hit us up, guys. There's a movie you'd like to hear about, themes, whatever. Hit us up, guys. We love to hear from you. 2023 is going to be an amazing year. I have a strong feeling about this year. So thank you guys for your time. Many blessings in this 2023, man. We'll see you for the next one coming soon.
Cheers, friends.